Have you ever wondered why women go for the bad boy? Are you confused why she's attracted to a bad boy? She seems to complain about bad boys, but yet dates them. Isn't this confusing? And today I'm going to break down exactly the psychological reasons why women go for bad boys. And honestly, it's not what you think. Um, I remember being so confused by this. And I remember being in Las Vegas in 2017, 2018, 2019, and studying this and being very confused as to why do women go for a bad boy? And yet here I was being this nice guy, right? Nice guy, yet none of them were attracted to me. And then as soon as I started being the bad boy, all of a sudden things started shifting for me and it was really strange. So I'm going to share with you the reason why that's happening in this video. Right now I'm at Squamish, BC, Canada, beautiful view. And I thought I'd come in here and shoot a video. Love being in this nature, love being connected here. So, all right. So the number one reason why a woman falls for a bad boy is actually something very biological. It comes down to her biological wiring. So you got to understand that you got to speak to her biology. A big mistake that men make is they forget about her cave woman brain and they forget about her biology. They forget about her hormones and all the differences that women have in the mind, like how our brains are structured and how our bodies are wired, play a big factor in how we're different. So the main reason why a woman will go for a bad boy is because the bad boy is congruent. Now, if you don't know what that word is, it's very important that you understand. The word congruence in terms of dating means that your inner reality and your inner beliefs and your self-beliefs are congruent or a match to your behaviors in the outer world. Key concept. Women are biologically wired for authenticity. They're biologically wired. Sigmund Freud said, don't study the conscious mind. I don't want to study your conscious mind. What's going on at the subconscious level? What's going on beneath the surface? Let me study your behavior. Let me study how you operate in life once you lose consciousness. So we spend way too much time studying the conscious mind, but you need to study the unconscious mind. And understanding this, women are attracted to a man that is congruent. And she's biologically wired for authenticity. Why? Because it helps her for safety. Safety is a core need that she has within inside of herself to feel secure around a man. So you need to be authentic. So here's the thing. A woman would rather have an authentic, flawed man that's congruent than a perfect, incongruent man. So why is that? Well, they know what they're getting. See, the challenge with the nice guys, I was one too for a very long time. And I'll get to the distinction between nice and kind and a gentleman and a nice guy. I was a nice guy for a very long time. And I wouldn't display my attraction to a woman. So let's, for example, growing up in high school, growing up in middle school, uh, you know, what would happen is I would like a girl, but I wouldn't tell her. And I'd be afraid to tell her. And I'd be afraid to display that I liked her. And what would happen? The bad boy would come over, like knock things out of her hand, push her around, and all of a sudden she goes for that guy. And I'm like, well, that guy's a dickhead. Why is she going for him? Well, you know why? It's because he's being congruent to who he is. He's being congruent. Whereas for me, I'm actually not being congruent. I'm being incongruent. Here I have feelings of attraction to this woman and I'm afraid to share it. And the reason I'm afraid to share it is because I'm afraid of getting rejected. And that rejection stems from a childhood wound, most likely from a father or mother wound, which we're not quite aware of. But this isn't a video about rejection. This is a video about being congruent to your behavior so you understand the key difference between a nice guy and a bad boy. So here I am attracted to this woman, this girl, and I'm not displaying that I'm attracted to. I'm kind of hiding it. And deep down at the subconscious level, my behavior, I'm trying to avoid any tension. I'm trying to avoid any friction because I'm ultimately afraid of getting rejected. And again, that comes from my childhood. So she feels that. She sees that off of my behavior, and she's not attracted to that. It instantly kills attraction. So women are attracted through emotions, not logic. So nice guy strategy. He thinks, okay, I'll go buy her a bunch of drinks, right? I'll go to the bar and buy her a drink. It's like I'll do an act of service for her, and thinking that that's what creates attraction. And you might be able to keep her around for like, whatever. Say you're at the bar or you're at a restaurant or whatever. You might keep her attention for a little bit. But then what happens is she doesn't respond to you, and then you get upset. And then now it's like, well, what was this about? You were the one that offered me a drink. And now that I'm not responding to you, I'm not giving you cues of being responding to you, all of a sudden you get upset. It's like, well, that's not congruent. You said to buy me a drink, and now you're upset because I'm not attracted to you. Yet you're upset that I'm attracted to that guy that came around and didn't buy me a drink and just kind of said whatever he said with his congruent behavior, and now you're attracted to him, and I'm getting butthurt. Fair enough. I am getting upset because I don't understand this. I don't understand the difference between being congruent and incongruent. I don't understand that my nice guy behavior is what's making me not attractive, because she needs to be emotionally stimulated. It's very, very important that she's emotionally stimulated in order for her to feel attraction. So this logical persuasion, right? Nice guys get into what's called logical persuasion, and they're constantly kind of calculating and making all these gestures and these things when really none of that matters because you're not speaking to her emotions. And that's very, very important. So the main reason why she goes for a bad boy is because she likes congruence. She needs it for her biology. Next, the nice guy is incongruent. All right, so he's incongruent with his behavior. He has attraction, but then he's not willing to display it, and then that's confusing for her because she's not being congruent. So whenever you get around a woman, right? Sometimes I get access to how women are around other women rather than around men. This is something I did when I was learning this stuff. I used to have 6 different women, and I would ask them questions about other women and like girls that I was dating and all this type of stuff when I was really deep into the um, pursuing STR, short-term relationship strategies. I was like, when I was really deep studying this at the beginning of my journey. And one of the things I would ask them is like, yeah, how do you feel when a guy just like is not authentic in him and who he is? And she would say, they would respond like, oh, like this is the key too. You got to learn this stuff from men. You can't learn this stuff from women because they don't know how to. Their brains not shaped to tell you. They'll be like what she says and then what she means. That means completely different things. And here's a perfect example of this. When you ask like, oh, what advice would you give a man? What she'll say is something along the lines of like, oh, I just wish he would be himself. And if you're a woman watching this, you're probably like, yep, I just wish he would be himself. And the reason for that is, what you're really saying is, I wish he was congruent. I wish he was congruent to his behavior. I wish that who he says he is, he is. And that's the thing. Bad guys don't try to hide it. They don't try to hide it. They just are a dickhead. But at least they own their dickheadness, right? And then you got to understand too, this gets kind of complicated psychologically because at the same time, women also have their wounds from childhood and their daddy issues. And that plays into the relationship and what they were looking for in other men. Unfortunately, if they haven't healed through that stuff, if dad was that, then that's how her first relationship with a man was with her father. Just like you, if you're a guy watching this, your first relationship with a woman was your mother, right? And so that plays deeply into what you're looking for in a relationship unconsciously, right? Don't study the conscious mind, the unconscious mind. So when she says just be yourself, what she's really saying is, I just wish you were finally congruent. I wish you were congruent. So there's a key distinction for these nice guys. And if you're a nice guy watching this, that's no worries. We got to learn this stuff. We got to get ourselves educated. And then here's the thing: the difference between information and transformation is that transformation is information applied. So if you need help applying this, click the link below. Let's get on a sales call. Let's get on a call, see if this is a fit, see if it's something that you need more support in. If you want me as your coach, I'm happy to coach you through this. I coach a ton of guys through this. I've been doing this for quite some time. I've learned a lot, and we got to get you from STR to LTR. So we got to shift you from short-term relationship mating strategy to long-term mating strategy, which is really important. So click the link below, see if it's a fit, and see if we want to work together. So what happens is nice guys are seeking approval. They're constantly seeking approval for the woman. They're constantly looking for her approval. Whereas what we want to do is think of this term, gentleman. There's a key distinction. There's a distinction from being nice and kind. Nice has a motive. You're being nice because it's the thing you should do, or you're being nice because you want something. Whereas you're kind, when you're kind, you just give unattached. So think of the word gentleman. You're a gentle man. You're a gentle man. Where did that come from? You know that the reason why men wear the tissue in the pocket in their suits is because what that's actually for is when the woman sneezes, you have a handkerchief to give to her, right? These are old school values. I'm a bit more of an old school guy, so I like that type of stuff. I think that stuff's really great. I appreciate some of that stuff. And I think that there's a time and space when to do it, where to do it, and if it's congruent to your behavior. If that's not congruent to you, that's congruent to me. That's kind of a bit more, I was a bit more raised old school. So I like those types of gestures. I think that that's fantastic. For example, if you're on the street walking with your woman, and let's say the traffic's here and you're on the sidewalk right here. I'll just give you an example, like right here. You're walking here and the traffic's coming here. You're gonna always be on the side with the traffic and make sure your woman's right here. So if you see her walking close to the traffic, just what you can do is with the body language, you just kind of move your hand and then you get on this side of the traffic. You don't have to say anything, just do it. And what that is it's a sub cue that you're the leader, and you don't. The reason why you stand next to the traffic is because if a car comes, you got to get in the way of protecting her, right? That's your role. It's part of your role is to protect your woman. It's a gentleman's move, right? But also make sure, like, if that's not congruent to you, then don't do that. Like for me, it's congruent to me. So there's a difference between being kind, being a gentleman like, versus being approval seeking. So you're trying to do nice things to get something. So for example, if that wasn't congruent to your behavior and you're like, oh, Matthew told me that because that's a strategy and it's not something you embody, and you're doing it because you're like trying to overcompensate to get her approval, then she's going to feel that. Whereas if you're doing it because you're like, oh, I want to be a gentleman, I like the idea of being a gentleman, then, and that's congruent to my behavior, I'm going to do that. Now, by the way, when you first get started, that wasn't congruent to my behavior. Walking in traffic, that's not, no, it wasn't. But I just started taking a stand because I'm like, this is how I want to be in a relationship. So what happens is we have 1.0 and 2.0, and eventually we start getting into that 2.0 version of ourselves. And I saw myself in a relationship as a gentleman. So that's one of the things that I wanted to start doing and taking care of. And you will build on it, and you'll start to build these behaviors over time. Next, we want to make sure that we're authentic without being a jerk. Okay, this is a big thing because we think, and I did this, honestly, I did this in Vegas because I went from nice guy to dickhead, and I went too far. And so I thought, okay, well, these women like these bad boys, so I'm going to be one. And I started testing it, and then it didn't feel good inside myself. It was actually incongruent, right? So then I actually just turned into treating women with like toxic behavior, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're authentic to ourselves. Okay, that's really important. So what does that look like? That means you need to start owning who you are. All right, you need to start owning who you are. You need to start being comfortable in your own skin. You got to be kind of, you got to start working toward being detached from outcome. You need to start becoming detached from how people respond to you, how people, if they respond to you positively or negatively, you're going to act how you're going to act. And that's kind of like, without disrespect, right? Like, but at some point you do have to stand on solid ground and own yourself and stand for something, right? And that takes time to cultivate. That's why doing self-development and working on yourself, this is all stuff that can help you get clarity. And then when you own yourself, you can move into the space of what's called self-acceptance. And once you get into that place, oh, now you're much more free. And what happens is you start what's called polarizing women. This is a key point, okay? So you started owning who you are, you have self-acceptance. What's going to start happening is you're going to polarize women. So what does that mean? That means you're either going to have her say she really likes who you are or she doesn't, okay? And by the way, even if you get good at this stuff, I can speak from experience, not every single woman's going to like you. So let go of that now. You got to let go of that fantasy because not every single woman's going to like you. And in fact, there's probably only going to be a small select group of women eventually that you start talking to that are going to be actually compatible, right? So like you can, in short-term mating strategy, you can change who you are to be compatible with more women to get what you want. But I'm talking about long-term strategy, right? So this is kind of a slight difference where the game kind of shifts differently. And so when you have that self-acceptance of yourself and you start owning yourself, now what starts to happen is you start polarizing women. And when you polarize a woman, it gets very powerful because now she either really likes you or she doesn't. And when she doesn't, that's okay. You keep moving because you own who you are, you own in your skin, and you really want that. Because there's 3 stages. There's receptive, neutral, and unreceptive. We never want to hang out in the neutral zone because when you hang out in the neutral zone, that's where you're going to start just getting into the friend zone. We want to make her either unreceptive, which is like, no, it's not, that's not how I see you, or yes, I really like you like that. Because too many men, what happens is they try to hide who they are, which is not congruent, and then they don't move past the attraction levels and they end up in the friend zone. And we just don't want to hang out there. It's okay if you are in the friend zone and you want to be in the friend zone with that woman. That's key. If you want to be in the friend zone with that, you want to befriend her, I think it's very powerful to build out your social circle. Have some women. I had tons of women that I didn't have sex with, or that I wasn't in that type of relationship with too. And I think it was really good to just be in the Rolodex of having women in your ecosystem. And then when you put on what's called container events, now you have women to invite yourself to. But that's a little bit further along the strategy for you. Right now, what I want you to do is I want you to start practicing being congruent. So a practical action step that you can take to start being congruent is, for example, next time you are with your group of friends, I want you to state where you want to eat. So it's like your group of friends like, where should we eat? Let's go eat sushi. Like that's what I want to do. And you don't have to assert yourself, but it's like just practice saying what you want. Practice letting yourself out into the world. You can practice this with your family as well. And this is a powerful thing. And because you got to know this, right from the get, you got to know this, that women need a man to be congruent. So it's very, very important. So own who you are, own who your own skin, and that takes time. And if you need help with this, let's get on a call together. I'll see if we can work together. Let's see if we can work something out. And we'll really start working through this because this is very, very powerful work. That when you switch the stuff, the game is going to change for you. So be congruent. That's why women go after bad boys, is because they're congruent. It's very, very important. So let's work on your authenticity. Let's work on owning who you are. And eventually, you'll end up exactly where you need to be. All right. Much love. Take care.